President Biden ordering U.S. intelligence to dig deeper into the origin of COVID-19, putting renewed focus on the Chinese city where it was first publicly detected, Wuhan. The White House says there are two possible origin theories. The first, a natural spread from animals to humans, possibly amplified inside this once crowded Wuhan seafood market. The second, and far more controversial possibility, a leak of the deadly virus from this Wuhan lab.
We know that China engaged a massive cover-up starting from day one, including destroying samples, hiding records, imprisoning people in China asking basic questions, and placing a gag order.
It has been well over a year since the initial outbreak, and still no conclusive answers. Former President Trump made claims last spring that it started in the Wuhan Institute of Virology lab, but never provided evidence. The Chinese, along with many scientists, dismissed Trump's lab leak theory as a conspiracy. President Biden took office supporting an international approach in investigating the origin. This week, three sources familiar with the matter tell CNN that Biden also shut down a Trump State Department inquiry into the origins over concerns about the quality of the evidence. But now, with newly reported intel, there are new questions of what China knew and when. The Wall Street Journal reporting this week that a U.S. intel report found that several researchers at the Wuhan lab got so sick they had to go to the hospital in November 2019. That is weeks before China reported the first patient with COVID-like symptoms to the WHO. It has led to mounting pressure on the Biden administration to find answers. In January of this year, we were in Wuhan as the WHO sent a field team into China to investigate, visiting the now shuttered market, once believed to have been the original ground zero. It's since been wiped clean. We drove by the Wuhan Institute of Virology, heavily secured, and despite multiple requests, we were not granted access to enter. This was as close as we got. The WHO scientists, however, were allowed in. Their conclusion? That it's very likely the virus spread naturally from animals, and that a lab leak was extremely unlikely.
There's no evidence of that at all. But it is something that we talked about with people at the Wuhan lab and got really honest and frank and good, informative answers to.
But that's the issue with the WHO investigation. According to some of the scientists who took part, it relied mostly on conversations with the Chinese scientists, taking them at their word. Some of the experts complain China has blocked them from crucial data, and those, like Peter Daszak, have been criticized for their personal ties to the Wuhan lab, having helped fund and take part in research in the facility before the outbreak. Virologist Marian Koopmans was among the WHO team in Wuhan in January. She's careful to characterize the team's work as research gathering, not as an inspection. She also welcomes Biden's efforts to get more intel on the origins, hoping he'll share the findings.
So if there's really something to it, well, then it needs to be followed up.
Meantime, China is pushing back with its own narrative, calling the U.S. efforts a smear campaign. Their motive is vicious, the spokesperson says. Chinese officials have relentlessly pushed an unfounded conspiracy that the virus began in the U.S., but there's no evidence of that. Chinese state media has labeled the virus as an imported threat, even baselessly suggesting it came from outside China, on frozen foods. From the chaos and confusion of the initial outbreak to the surge in panic as the number of deaths soared and the virus spread, to hopes that vaccines might bring us back to life pre-COVID-19, we are still left with the question, how did all this really begin? David Culver, CNN, Shanghai.